Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And there you go. There you have it. We are back. We are live, and we are brand new. It is Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond. Happy Monday morning. We're live from Bill Penny Toyota here in the service department where their doors have just opened. They open right as we start our show each and every weekday. They'll stay open until 9 o'clock tonight. And then, 7 o'clock tonight. And then on Saturday, they're open 7 to 5. So 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, 7 to 5 on Saturday. 256-576-4977. You can join the program this morning on a Monday. Got a lot of stuff to get through. A lot of college basketball, a lot of college football conversation, but we will start with that college basketball conversation because the SEC did open up conference play on Saturday. And as expected, it's always fun when you get to say as expected, both Alabama and Auburn defend their home court on Saturday.
Yeah, 84-68. Auburn wins, 24 points from Jonai Broome. And, of course, our two good friends, Chaney Johnson had 13. He did a nice job. And then Denver Jones, who that's kind of the underlying. Jonai is the front runner for Player of the Year in the SEC. But Denver Jones and what he's done to kind of transform himself, because he's been a scorer his entire career, until they kind of started this transformation in the middle of last year when they needed a backup point guard. But he's made pretty much the full-time transformation to being a point guard for Bruce Pearl, because their portal transfer, J.P. Pegues from Furman, he's had a rough transition. He hasn't been, I think, what they thought he would be when they took him out of the portal. But Denver Jones has picked up that slack and really just decided to run with it and been really solid. And, I mean, he's still scoring the ball, but he's able to handle it. 7 assists. I think he had 10 and 7 on Saturday. So really solid job from Denver. Good to see him entrench himself in the starting lineup and be a big part of this team. I was just on another radio station before our show, and they asked me who's the best team in the SEC. I mean, we've been to one through one weekend.
Right, it's just one, yes.
But I'd still say Auburn, simply because of the schedule they've played. Their only loss was by 4 at Cameron Indoor. Really high-level game where they played well, just didn't win. And then, Jonai's overcome the shoulder situation where he had it pop out, pop back in. He's still, playing really, really well. And so I just think Auburn right now, I know Tennessee's undefeated and ranked number 1, okay? And they're really, really good, and they just whacked Arkansas. But I think right now I would take Auburn. Tennessee would be number 2. I would put Alabama and Kentucky up there, and Florida as well. That top 5.
What a Kentucky comeback. I mean, they look like they were – Florida came out early.
Yeah.
Got on
really
them.
Too.
Yeah.
Florida still got the triumvirate of guards. They took the transfer from Florida Atlantic from Dusty May's team, and they've plugged him in, and they've still got Walter Clayton, who is one of the best guards in college basketball. Man, he's so good, and he had 33 points, and then you look at Will Richard. He's still around. He only had 9. He didn't have a super scoring game, but he's a really good player. Brought in the center from Washington State. They're really, really a high-level team, and 106-100 in regulation. And what a job Mark Pope's done. That team is it's all transfers. I mean, they had to basically start over with Calipari taking so many guys with him to Arkansas. And Lamont Butler's been a great fit from San Diego State. He's a winner. As you know, Scott, he was on that team that went to the national championship game, and he's shooting it a lot better at Kentucky than he did at San Diego State. And then they've got Otega Owe from Oklahoma, who's averaging 16, really good fit. Amir Williams from Drexel, who's their rim protector. And then Pope's just a really good offensive coach.
Right.
And so he did a great job at BYU. He's got, certainly Jackson Robinson, the kid he had at BYU. I mean, they're really, really good as well, and they're going to be tough. And then I thought Alabama was very impressive. I was there to watch them play OU. And OU came in undefeated, but, They had not played a true road game, had not played as difficult an out-of-conference schedule.
Yes.
And Alabama, Houston Millette played 2 minutes, but I'm going to be honest with you. They're redshirting Latrell Reisel because of his Achilles injury. I think they could redshirt Millette.
Because of the depth that they have.
Now that Youngblood has come back and come back from his injury, he looks really good. If you can keep what I saw on the floor, and I'm talking about that were in the regular rotation, healthy, you could afford to redshirt both of them and have 2 veteran shooters come back, because I'm just telling you right now, Youngblood is getting comfortable. He had 9, and he's kind of a junkyard dog too, good defender. And then you look at it. I thought it was the best I'd seen Amori play. He looked really much more comfortable in the system and what they're doing. And then Grant Nelson's playing his natural position at the 4 spot. And another thing he did against Oklahoma that you hope continues, and he's done it the last few games, is his 3-point shooting.
Right.
You can tell he's done a lot of work on it, because last year that was kind of a struggle for him. He was really, really streaky, but he can stretch defenses, being able to hit threes. And then Sears was Sears. I mean, he had 22, but then he also had 10 assists.
Yeah, he's kind of getting that energy back.
Yeah, I mean, he's bounced back from that slow start, and then that the Bagel game where everybody made a big deal out of him not being able to score. But again, I think Alabama's just they had 6 guys in double figures, and they were 2 buckets away from having 8.
Right.
So they've got so many guys that can score the ball. I mean, think about it. They went 9 of 29 from 3, which is okay, not great, but they scored 105. So
you look at that and you look at the stat sheet. Your points have to come from somewhere else. And so where are you getting your points? Well, if you're Alabama, that means you're getting to the rim. You're getting second chance points. You're getting the offensive rebounds. You're doing all the little things to
Oklahoma on the glass, man.
Yes.
They had over 50 rebounds, and that's the thing Porter Moser said after the game. And OU, like Alabama last year, you remember, Scott, one of Alabama's issues was no rim protection. OU doesn't really have a lot of rim protection, and so it really hurt them. And then Alabama did a really good job on Jeremy Fears, who's going to be a high draft pick. He scored most of his points in the last 10 minutes of the game when it was basically over. They did a really good job of making it a struggle for him to get going. So, again, I just thought it was a really good performance. And I think Oklahoma will still be a good team. But I just thought Alabama handled business, and now Alabama's got an interesting week coming up because they've got 2 road games. They got to go to South Carolina, who just got mauled by Mississippi State.
Yes, they did.
And then you got to go to a tough place to play, Buzz Williams, Texas A&M, Saturday night in College Station, and they destroyed Texas.
Yeah,
in College Station
that
on
was
Saturday.
80-60, Texas A&M over Texas. And you mentioned that Mississippi State South Carolina game. That was 85-50. Mississippi State led 43-18 at the half.
Yeah.
18. Here is Nate Oates, though, reflecting on that win and how the non-conference portion of the schedule kind of helps them.
Thought it was good. So, a lot of positives. We're in the middle of SEC. I shouldn't say in the middle, but we're in it now. We're in SEC play. A lot of stuff to clean up, but a lot of positives on our first game. So, I think our non-conference schedule prepared us for these games. Now we got to go on the road, where we've been a little inconsistent. We lost at Purdue and didn't play well at North Dakota. We had a big road win at North Carolina, but we got to go on the road to South Carolina, who's going to be really amped up and ready to go, I'm sure, after their game today. But really good first game. And the 2 years we've won the SEC regular season, I think we won by 22 at home and 18 on the road. I talked to our guys like we need a dominating win coming out, setting the tone if we're trying to win this thing. And I think the guys answered the bell pretty well.
That's Nate Oates on answering that bell.
Yeah.
And there.
I thought they did. I thought they came out ready to go. And, it's going to be interesting because this league is going to be a grinder.
Yep.
There was really only, I thought, I think there was only one road win in the league on the opening weekend, and that was Vanderbilt and Mark Byington. And he's, of course, the first-year coach from James Madison. And his best player really, and that's another roster that was basically pieced together via the portal, is A.J. Hogard, who used to play at Michigan State. He had 17, and they were able to beat LSU 80-72 in the PMAC. So they got a nice, road win to start it off. Now, I don't know how good LSU is. I have my suspicions that they, might be in the lower third of the league. But, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But
it's just one game, and that's the thing. I mean, Bruce Pearl has said it the best, that you're going to lose in this league.
Yeah, you are.
And so – and I heard some analysts talk about it this weekend as well, and I think Jay Billis actually said it too. You can't get worried about the losses when you have one, especially on the road, because there's going to be some where you just don't play good, because it's more about how well the other team is playing that night, because the league is so deep.
Yeah, it is. I mean, think about this. Florida lost 106-100 in Rupp and led and then had a chance and everything like that. But now they host Tennessee. So Tennessee is going to, coming up on Tuesday, it's number 1 Tennessee, 14-0, and Tennessee just destroyed Arkansas. I was asked how good will Arkansas be, and Arkansas is just so young. I mean, he kept Trevon Brazile. That ended up being kind of an arduous deal, but he ended up keeping him. But the majority of their team is transfers and or freshmen that were going to go to Kentucky that followed Calipari, like a Boogie Fland. And Boogie, he struggled a little bit in his first and Thero only had 6. They got to have him score.
Right.
And DJ Wagner, he had 17 to lead the squad. And played well, but again, Wagner and Fland are going to kind of go where these guys take them. Billy Richmond didn't have much of an impact in his first game, so it's going to be really interesting. And then I think the biggest thing is their biggest transfer addition was John L. Davis from FAU, the guy that led them to the Final Four and everything. And I don't think he's healthy. I think he's struggling through some things, and so they need him to get healthy and get right. I still say, though, that they're probably not even a top 6 or 7 team in the SEC. I think they'll make the tournament, but I still think they'll be one of these 9-9, 8-10 type teams that'll have to be maybe a 8, 9, 10 seed that will be dangerous. I don't see Arkansas being a contender. I mean, no disrespect to Cal. He's got a lot of skins on the wall, and they'll get better. But this league is too deep and too good to me.
It is. The win for Auburn on Saturday did give Bruce Pearl his 213th victory in 11 seasons on the Plains. That tied him with Joel Eves, who won 213 for the most wins in program history as a coach.
Pretty significant.
And Bruce Pearl obviously was asked about that accomplishment after the game on Saturday.
Nobody enjoys winning more than me. Nobody hates losing more than me. I'm a really bad loser, and when I get out to the next one, I will celebrate whatever we accomplish this year, this summer. I'll celebrate with my friends and my family, the Auburn family, on the boat at Lake Martin, out there on a golf course. Nobody will enjoy it more. But you know me. You have to know I'm on to Texas and on to the next one. And the only thing I'd rather do on that is go, let's talk about Joel Eves, or let's talk about Sonny Smith, or Cliff Ellis, or some of the other great coaches that I get an opportunity to join because I'm the coach at Auburn right now. So it's great.
There you go.
Well, I mean, it's a great accomplishment. What he's done at Auburn's, astonishing, and making them a program that's considered a top 15 program in the country, and making them right now one of the favorites for the national championship. And I think the best team in the SEC. With the schedule that they've played, they've got a chance to do some great things, no doubt about it. And I think Alabama does too. I think I was looking at the schedule. Those 2 Saturday games between Alabama and Auburn are going to be epic. The one in Auburn Arena is the last game of the regular season, and that's what they used to do with Carolina and Duke.
That is true. You're right.
They would always kind of give you a Carolina-Duke game to end the regular season. Well, this time it's Alabama-Auburn, and we'll see where both of those teams are by the end of the year. But again, I know Tennessee's number 1, but I think Auburn is the best team in the league, and I think Alabama can punch with Auburn and Tennessee. I mean, I guess I'm not as sold yet that Tennessee is the best team in the country. I think they're really, really good.
Well, just think about this, though. If Florida goes up there and would lose, just to tell you how deep the league can be, Florida would be 0-2 to start the SEC season with losses to Kentucky and Tennessee. The Florida win would probably be one of Tennessee's better wins of the year because, I mean, they've had some good wins, but not high quad one wins. But that would be an interesting development to start the league year.
Yeah, I mean, and it's at Florida, so that would be a big road win. You're right.
Yes.
It might be the best win for Tennessee of the year, but I'll be honest with you, I'm picking the Gators. I think the Gators will get it done.
Just rebound at home?
Yeah, and rebound at home again. Now, that'll really, raise my eyebrows if Tennessee wins that game. And, again, I'm not disrespecting them. I think they're really, really good and one of the best teams in the country, but I don't think they played the schedule that Auburn or Alabama have. And so, in my opinion. So, but Tennessee's handled business, and they've worked their way up. And Rick Barnes is, look, man, he's one of the most underrated coaches in the country. I know, Jeff from the Dumbo wants to call him, regular season Rick all the time because he's only been to one Final Four. But you have to look at his complete body of work as a coach. I mean, when Texas, he did go to the Final Four. He had a 17-year run there or whatnot. He won at Providence, got them to the tournament. He won at Clemson. He's done it everywhere he's ever been, Rick Barnes has. And so I have a lot of respect for him as a head coach and the toughness that his teams play with and the way they guard. And so, I mean, the Final Fours are hard to get.
I was going to say, there's not too many college basketball coaches right now that have been to the Final Four.
No, I mean.
That have had really good teams that should have gotten there that did not get there.
It's just, he's a great coach, and he's done a great job at Tennessee. And it's hard to believe he's been there over 10 years already and, what he's done. And then you got to understand, he had to pick up the pieces of the end of the Bruce Pearl era because Bruce was doing a great job there until he got off the tracks. But, and before Bruce showed up to Knoxville, they were bad for a long time. They weren't very good.
Yeah.
And so they've had Bruce, they've had Rick. Now they've reestablished that brand is really, really good.
Well, after Bruce left, they had some coaches where they missed on.
Yeah, they just missed.
Donnie Tyndall.
Yeah, because he had all kind of NCAA issues, wasn't good enough. So they found Rick Barnes, and because again, Texas kind of got tired of him. I think they would like to have him back because I'm sorry, but I don't think Rodney Terry is going to last. I mean, getting blasted by your biggest rival in your first game. He's a great recruiter. Okay?
Do you think they would like to have Shaka Smart back?
No. I think they wish Chris Beard hadn't done what Chris Beard had done.
There we go.
I mean, because I think he had it going on the right track, and he's doing a really nice job at Ole Miss. I think Beard was a really good fit for what Texas wanted. Now, if they make that, and see, just like Shaka goes to Marquette, and he's doing a great job because I think he fits there.
That's why I was asking if they regret letting Shaka Smart go.
Where would Texas go? I don't know. I know there was a lot of thought that they might come after Nate Oates when they decided to keep Rodney Terry there, but I don't think Nate would go to Texas. I think and they built an arena and they have facilities and everything and money, but I don't know. You have to have the right fit for that to work. And so it's going to be really interesting if Rodney Terry doesn't make it, kind of what direction they go. Or, we could see him look to Kansas State. We'll see. I know he was a great assistant there at Texas.
Auburn, by the way, travels to Texas this week. That is where Auburn is at up next.
You heard Bruce Pearl just talk about it. And I'm on to the next one, and it's a road trip to Texas. And they need this game because, like you just mentioned, the fact of being 0-2 in a brutal league. So if you're Texas, you're already not ranked, okay? You don't want to go to 0-2 in the conference because that's a tough one, man. So
coaches will tell you, win all your home games and try to split on the road.
Well, they will, but then I'm just saying, in this climate right now, how much rope are they going to give Rodney Terry?
Ooh.
I mean, if you have a really, really slow start, crud, man, he may not make it to, halfway through the conference schedule. I mean, I'm not trying to, I just know the way Texas thinks. And so
they were outscored by 20 in the second half against Texas A&M. It was tied at 37 at the break.
Right.
And then Texas A&M pulled away, outscored outscored the Longhorns by 20 in the second half in that matchup.
And again, Terry's known as a great recruiter. Perhaps this is just a speed bump, and they're going to get better. But man, I mean, I would think that enough struggles and being now in the SEC, which is such a tough league.
Yeah,
and Texas is going to expect to be in the top half.
Well,
and
by the way, to your point, Chris Beard in 24th ranked Ole Miss got by Georgia 63-51 to open up SEC play.
Yeah, I mean,
so Chris Beard has Ole Miss inside the top 25.
And then if Chris Beard, I haven't looked at the conference schedule. I know they play, but if Chris Beard beats Texas, then that's. But again, that was Texas' call. And
it was Chris Beard's
undoing.
Yes.
And so we'll see. Because I thought when they hired Chris Beard, I was like, well, that's probably the perfect move for them. What would they end up doing? But again, it's going to be interesting to see how all this goes. And like I say, it's going to be a brutal league.
All right, we got to get our first break in. We are live from Bill Penny Toyota. Told you got a lot of stuff to get through. 256-576-4977. We're live from Bill Penny Toyota. More coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Governors east and westbound closed at Montesano Boulevard this morning. Got some lines down on the ground. They're saying at least noon before that could be reopened. Got a wreck 20 in Newcomb and Decatur that may still be causing problems. 65 northbound at Bethel Road in Hartselle may still be working. And we had 6th Avenue northbound at the Beltline. That's a fairly new accident. You could lose up to 4 sizes in 4 weeks with the 2030 Fast Track Weight Loss Program. Find out more at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold-certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Owen Home Appliance Center features the biggest names in home appliances like Viking, Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, GE, and Frigidaire. But they also have great brands that you may not know, like Mela, Forno, Z-Line, Invisicook, and Beko. But no matter what, they all get delivered the day you buy, and they service everything they sell. And at the Lacey Spring Showroom, just 8 miles south of the river on 231, you'll find a totally interactive showroom where you can hear the dishwashers wash, and the freezer's free, and see the cookies get baked in the double ovens. Owen Home Appliance Center will even wash and dry a load of clothes for you so that you can see how great the products are. And they have ice machines making all kinds of ice, cubed, nugget, and top hat. How is that for variety? Owen Home Appliance Center believes in community involvement as well, sponsoring youth teams, race cars, and an annual Easter egg hunt. Quality products, quality pricing, quality service is the name of the game for Owen Home Appliance Center. Find them in Somerville and Lacey Springs and online at owenappliance.com.
The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Listen weekday afternoons starting at 5 on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It's perfect!
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, 724 on a Monday morning. Welcome back into the program. For those that are listening and those that listened on Saturday, yes, my voice sounds a little bit better. We're getting better. Boy, that was a rough game on Saturday for me. I made it through. I made it through. I sound a little bit better.
Right.
We're not 100%. Boy, I sounded like I was dead. Thank you to Daniel Saylor's parents, and I know they're probably not listening this morning, but she gave me some medicine at halftime just so that I could try to make it through the game.
Yeah, well,
I felt 100%. I just, I had no voice.
It was just the voice, yeah.
Whew, it left
Which
me.
is bad, yeah.
Yeah, when you're doing...
Well,
when you're doing
complete play-by-play, though.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
When you're trying to do stuff and talk on air and you don't have a voice, it's not a good combination.
Yeah.
Anyway, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Blake Lovell's going to join us. We'll recap some more SEC basketball. We talked a lot about it there in the first segment. This just in, though, to our news desks this morning. According to our partners at ESPN, the Jacksonville Jaguars have fired Doug Peterson. So coaches,
we all saw that coming.
Yep, coaches getting the zigs here on Monday. What do they call it? Black Monday?
Yeah, Black Monday in the NFL.
Yeah,
Gerard Mayo is the first one, and that was really on Sunday. Gone. So much for that coach in waiting thing where he was going to take the reins from Bill Belichick.
And the Doug Peterson thing, that does not come as a surprise either. That was kind of boiling under the surface about the last 6-7 weeks there in Jacksonville. Let's go out to the phone lines. Wolverine Dan with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Dan.
Well, gentlemen, it's a Black Monday today, but yesterday was a sunny Sunday. I'm tired, guys. I've been up all night long, could not go to sleep. Roll Tide, baby. Gibby boy. Gib is unbelievable. 4 freaking touchdowns. The guy is like, I think they say he runs like a 4-4. I think he runs like a 3-4. That guy's like a lightning bolt. Unbelievable. Abalone came back, the linebacker with the broken arm, made the difference on the defense. I'm telling you, man, we get a couple more players, pick them and play them. And, fellas, we look good. Never been done before. 2 teams with a 14-2 record in the same division playing for the NFC first-round bye. How about that?
Oh, it was a big win. I mean, Jameer has 20 touchdowns. I think that's the Detroit Lions record. Even the great Barry Sanders didn't do that. So Jameer's had a great year. And Anzalone coming back to play linebacker for them. They've had a lot of defensive injuries, but they've also been able to, as a coaching staff, to kind of plug the holes. And again, they're healthy as they've been in a while right now, and they earned the bye and the number 1 seed, which is what you want to do. And they're rolling right now. They're 15-2, back-to-back division titles, and I think they've done a remarkable job, no question about it.
Well, I'm concerned about Arnold. I mean, he went off with some injury, some foot, lower body injury. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's just our luck this year on defense. But, that's why I think we're going to lose our offensive coordinator, because it's pick and play. Like I said, I mean, unbelievable, Drew and Scott, how they can just get these players, coach them up, and, unbelievable. I mean, I'm stoked. I mean, What a run. I mean, think about it. Natty, which I'm still a defending Natty guy, he beat Bama twice in 1 year, and then look at the Lions. I mean, Drew, it's really it's a magical year. I told my son last night, we were all together jumping up and down, and my grandson and my wife just holding each other and just being really happy about what's going on. My thing is this, Drew, at my age of 65, if I see this happen this year, I'm pretty well set. I could fall off a cliff or something and be done with it, because if the Lions win the Super Bowl, as a sports fan, I love my local teams. To have this and win it all like this, if we do, Drew, what's better than that?
Be a great accomplishment. They've never even been to the Super Bowl, so it would be a great run. They lost in the NFC Championship game a year ago. I know it's kind of been fueling them since then. So, I mean, I think they're the best team in the NFC. I think they was the 2 best teams you saw yesterday. So this is a golden opportunity for them, no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, it was a domination. It really was, and I think the thing that really, and I kept telling my son and grandson, my wife, I said if they just keep putting him on his back, and he was limping at the end, I don't think Donald's really had pressure like that this year. And when they did that, you could tell he was kind of getting shaky a little bit. So I think that's the formula next time we play him is just, because it was funny because Campbell at the end, when they congratulate each other, Campbell said, well, I'll see you in 2 weeks, because that could very well happen. But, fellas, I'm excited. Gibbs is unbelievable. I'm just really, really happy we have him. Montgomery comes back. We got the 2 weeks here by, which basically in 2 weeks we can rest a lot of players, get Montgomery back, and then we got Knuckles and Sonic back. So I'll get off my high horse right now, but I had to call in because I'm. It's a good tired, fellas. You've been through this where you stay up all night long watching your favorite sports team, and then wake up next morning and it's like, God, I feel like crap. So
yeah.
Congrats, Dan.
Yep. Yeah, and the NFL regular season has come, and it is gone. The playoffs will go on this weekend. We will tie all that into the college football playoffs because it is another fantastic weekend of college football playoff, NFL playoff football. We'll tie all that in here in a little bit. But we've got to get a break in because when we come back, Blake Lovell's got to join us because we got to talk some college basketball, recap the weekend. Winners and losers, not just on the scoreboard, but who kind of showed that, yes, their preseason schedule, their preseason results kind of indicated that they are that team. We'll break it down with Blake Lovell next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. Isolated rain showers and potentially snow flurries going to be possible heading into this Monday night. Low temperatures falling into the lower 20s. We'll see mostly sunshine, high temperatures reaching the mid and upper 30s for the afternoon, but wind chill values could be as low as the lower teens. Wind gusts as high as 20 miles per hour going to be possible. I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN. The Zone.
Governors east and westbound closed at Montesano Boulevard this morning. Got some lines down on the ground. They're saying at least noon before that could be reopened. Got a wreck 20 in Newcomb and Decatur that may still be causing problems. 65 northbound at Bethel Road in Hartselle may still be working. And we had 6th Avenue northbound at the Beltline. That's a fairly new accident. You could lose up to 4 sizes in 4 weeks with the 2030 Fast Track Weight Loss Program. Find out more at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Join us all season long as we get you ready for primetime NFL action every Monday night. Along with Kevin Harlan, Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, and the entire Westwood One team will take you inside the locker rooms and the stadiums for exclusive previews and all the play-by-play action. Every week on Monday Night Football.
Right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From heirloom diamonds to contemporary jewels, Loring & Company is the place to find something truly special. Whether shopping for a diamond ring for that once-in-a-lifetime occasion or marking a milestone birthday or personal achievement with a Rolex watch, you'll find just the thing in our edit of the world's most sought-after brands, including David Yurman, Roberto Coin, Marco Bicego, and Fopay. Expect a treasure trove of the world's most unique, even breathtaking earrings, rings, necklaces, and bracelets, making choosing just one piece a challenge in itself. Loring & Company Jewelers on Airport Road.
You'll love the expanded wine selection at Liquor Express. From special occasion to everyday table wines, they've got what you need. Meet your friends at the largest tap wall in Alabama with 105 rotating selections. Then take home a growler full of your favorite or choose from our 1,000 canned or bottled beers. Need help stocking your bar or planning your party? Liquor Express has a knowledgeable professional in-house staff that can assist you with anything from your bar to the planning of your special event. Visit liquorexpress.net for tasting specials, giveaways, and classes.
And now, a man who knows what you ate for breakfast.
Time now for the biggest thinker of them all.
He knows it all. He is Drew DeArmond. Listen to Drew and Scott Tyson weekday mornings. It's Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
But that trick never worked.
All right, welcome back. 7:35 on a Monday morning. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond hanging out here inside the Bill Penny Toyota Service Department like we do most and each and every Monday. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. They can service your vehicle needs. We mentioned NFL news, and there's a lot going on. One more news real fast before we get to Blake Lovell. Brian Dable will return as Giants head coach next season. The former Alabama offensive coordinator. Yep, for 1 year. Much maligned offensive coordinator at Alabama.
Who is not a maligned coordinator at Alabama? If you have 2 bad drives, fire him. I mean, how many times? I mean,
I know. We'll get to more of that.
Boat anchor quarterback, but it's always fire the coordinator.
Yeah.
Even though the quarterback couldn't read a defense to save his life.
All right, let's switch that gears back to college basketball as it was the first weekend of conference play for everybody in the league.
Yeah, it really was. The SEC looks like it's the best league in college basketball, which is great for our next guest, who is a huge part of Southeastern Now 16, along with Chris Lee and their great staff over there. If you want to see great breakdowns of each matchup, if you want to hear basketball talk that's the best, I think, in the business when it comes to the SEC, check out Southeastern 16 and their YouTube channel. I know he also does a lot of work for Blue Ribbon Basketball. He's one of my favorite basketball guys, and we want to wish a happy new year. Hope he had a Merry Christmas to Blake Lovell, who's joining us now to kind of recap the first weekend of SEC basketball. Blake, how you doing, man?
Yeah, doing well, guys. Hope you, again, had a good Christmas and New Year as well. And, yeah, it's been quite a season in SEC basketball so far. And I think after Saturday, it's pretty clear that things will continue to be that way based on how things are going. So.
Well, what stood out to you the most as far as we really only had one true road victory, and that was Vanderbilt. And your Commodores, I know you're based out of Nashville. They've been quietly under the radar, really solid. But what kind of stood out to you about the opening weekend?
Yeah, I think you said it, Drew. I mean, I think it's just, winning games on the road this year is going to be significant for teams like Vanderbilt and ones that don't have the overall tournament resume maybe at this point that some other teams have. And so I think even for them to win at an LSU is significant because, I put the stat out. I mean, home teams in the SEC this year in 135 games, non-conference play, first Saturday in conference play, are now 132-3. Only 3 home losses all year long. And when you look at it from that standpoint, you've got to hold serve at home. I mean, no matter who you are. And I think that's kind of be the big trend I think we see throughout this conference is can lower, tier teams like a South Carolina, LSU, teams like that. LSU's already given up one at home. Can South Carolina upset a few people at home? Because that's really the only way you're going to be able to stay in the mix here, right? And the same goes for, teams like Georgia, which obviously they have a big game coming up and against Kentucky on Tuesday. And so you just keep looking at all those different sort of, matchups. And that's what I think, you sort of look at this point is to figure out, all right, how does this whole thing play out and try to separate who are the real contenders from the teams that maybe aren't exactly on that level.
Yeah. How soon do you think, though, that happens? I mean, Florida has a game with Kentucky coming up. I mean, or Tennessee, my bad. Florida has one with Tennessee coming up. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at Texas. We talked a lot about Texas to start off the show. Auburn. They got off to a slow start with Texas A&M. Then you look at teams like Mississippi State. They're inside the top 25. Ole Miss is inside the top 25. How good are those programs? How soon, Blake, do you think, though, that we start to see some of that separation?
Well, here's what's interesting is that when you look at the 8 teams that won on Saturday, 7 of them are going to play their next game on the road. And so I think that's what's fascinating to me is like we just talked about, all the teams minus Vanderbilt who won on Saturday were teams that won at home. And now their next game, they got to go on the road. So I think this is where we start to separate because even for Auburn, right, they go to Texas on Tuesday. That's a somewhat tricky road game, but yet I think Auburn has been significantly better than Texas to this point. It's like Tennessee goes to Florida on Tuesday. I don't think Tennessee's a pretender of the group by any means, but it's sort of a different kind of test for them. They've already been to Illinois. They won at the buzzer, but they've got a Florida team who certainly has some ground to make up now. They really need to win that game. And so I think those are the kind of games we start to look at. A&M goes to Oklahoma on Wednesday. Kentucky plays what I think is still a pretty decent Georgia team on the road on Tuesday. And so when you start to see these kind of matchups, I think over the next, week and a half or two, you're going to see some of that separation. And I think, even from Saturday, right, we already have a pretty decent idea of maybe who a couple of those teams are going to be that are really going to struggle. And I think, that's probably LSU and South Carolina. Beyond that, I don't know. I think everybody has got a shot. I mean, even Missouri, and I said this on Saturday, I'm like, you could watch that game, and sure, it was probably not as close as the final scoreline indicated, but when I watched that game, I really wasn't taking away the idea that, man, I don't think Missouri's that good. It was more of, okay, Auburn is who they've been to this point. In my opinion, they're the best team in the country. And so from that perspective, I don't think that's a knock on Missouri, and it's kind of the same discussion you have with, Kentucky, Florida. I saw a lot of people saying, well, told you Florida was overrated. Well, no, they're not. I just think they went in and played a Kentucky team at home that happens to be pretty good. And so I think that's what we're going to start to see. There is going to be that separation. There's not going to be 14 teams in the NCAA tournament from the SEC. It's just not going to happen. But we start to see that separation over the next couple of weeks.
And I watched you and Max Moore. I thought your prediction for Alabama, Oklahoma, just to get a feel for what you guys thought of it. I know all three of you, Chris as well, picked Alabama to win. I certainly thought the Tide would win, but I thought they were very, very impressive, especially when you consider they didn't shoot the three all that well, 9 of 29, but their work on the glass was exemplary. They had over 50 rebounds. The offensive glass was really good. And then I'm watching Cliff Amore and Chris Youngblood get more and more comfortable. I only half-jokingly said this. I actually think Nate, if they stayed healthy with what they've got on the floor now, could redshirt both Latrell Wrightsell with his injury and Houston Millette and bring them back next year. I think Alabama's deep enough right now where they can play with anybody in the league.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I thought that game, and I think we said it in the preview, I thought it would be a little bit closer than people maybe expected, because I said, I looked at Oklahoma. I knew that they hadn't played the schedule that Alabama played and all that, but, I just wondered, hey, maybe this is kind of one of those games where Oklahoma wants to come out with something to prove. But, the thing is, we always say this anytime we talk about an Alabama game. It's like we can tell you all the reasons why the opponent can keep it close, but it's still Alabama, and the way they play, they can still blow anybody out. And, that's kind of what happened here. And like you said, Drew, I look at this team, and, we've been very high on Chris Youngblood all summer, and we knew that he was going to make a big impact. But I think now that they've gotten him back, you just see all the ways that he can contribute on this team, and I think it's just he's unlike anyone else they have on the roster, and that's a good thing because, it is someone who just kind of with the versatility of his game, like you said, he can take on more of a prominent role in multiple areas, and then you've got all these other guys that are stepping up. It's a LeBaron Philon. How different is this Alabama team this season if he's not doing what he's doing? They're still a pretty good team, but, he has just been such a difference maker right off the bat, and I think that's kind of what we're looking at with this team. They're deep, even without, a guy who's out for the season with an injury, like you said. Has still options in terms of redshirting and all. There's just this is just what Alabama is. And the fact is, everyone should be worried because I don't think they're going to wind up shooting 31.6% from three by season's end. I think that number is going to get better. And if it does, then, again, they're still going to go out and be able just to run some teams off the floor, no matter the setting, because of how overwhelming they can be offensively. So, I would think that, things continue right along for Alabama on Wednesday at South Carolina. And then, of course, you play the game that I feel like no one wants to play, and that's having to go to College Station and play Texas A&M on Saturday. And so that'll be a bit of a contrast, I feel like, with these two games this week.
What did you make of the Kentucky-Florida game on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people when we were doing our reaction show that were giving me some, about the fact that I said, hey, look, I get it. It's a 106-100 game. I'm not saying the defense was perfect by any means for these two teams, but I'm also not willing to just say these two teams can't play defense because I've seen them play defense all season long. I think it's just, you always say, right, it's just the styles. And when you had these two styles going in, if you were somebody that expected this game to be 75-73, I don't know what to tell you, because these are two of the best offensive teams in the country. Like, they are both in the top 5 offensively now in the country. And so you knew it was going to be a game where these guys were going to step up, make big shots. I think that's something, too. I'd venture to tell anyone to go back and watch how many tough shots were hit in that game. Sure, there were open shots. There's open shots in every game. But there were a lot of tough shots that some of those guards hit on the perimeter, whether it was Elijah Martin, whether it was Kobe Brea. And so I think here's what's going to happen. Last year, it may be somewhat similar this year, although I still think defensively they're both going to be a little bit better than they were last year. But they're just going to go out and outscore people because they're so good offensively and they have so many good playmaking guards. And that's the difference in this league. We always say it. Yes, you've got to have some guys that can clean up in the paint, be physical, rebound, all those things. But you got to have guys that can make the plays, right off the bat. The guy who's bringing the ball down the floor has got to be able to make plays. And when you look at this for both these teams, Walter Clayton, one of the best guards in the country, Lamont Butler, one of the best, I think, just pure gamers in the country. And so that's what starts it for Kentucky and Florida. I came away feeling pretty good about both of those teams. Yes, they have some defensive things they've got to fix, but I don't think it's to the point to where we're just looking at it and saying, all right, they can't go win the SEC or they can't go make a trip to a Final Four or something. I think they can, just because there aren't a lot of teams out there as good as they are offensively.
Well, and then I know they're number 1 in the country, but we really haven't talked a ton about Tennessee. They've got Zakai Ziegler back, who is their engine, has been such a really good player for the Vols. And Scott and I talked about this and before you came on about how good a job Rick Barnes has done. But what's impressed you about the Vols and why they're undefeated and number 1 in the country?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple at this point. Like, we say in this era, you've got to hit on your transfers, and they've hit on their transfers, and I feel like it's one of those things where I can't tell you how many times I heard the phrase this summer, hey, don't expect Taz Lanier to be Dalton Connect. I'm like, all right, I'll take your word for it. Like, that's probably a tough thing to do, right? Like, he's not going to be Dalton Connect. Well, we look up, 14 games later, and this guy looks pretty similar to Dalton Connect, just with what he's doing offensively. And that shows you that they knew that this was the guy that they needed to replace that production of Dalton Connect. And Taz Lanier is just one of the smoothest shooters in all honesty, I think I've seen in the SEC. I mean, he just shoots it in a way that is just, again, it's just smooth. I don't know how else to say it. And just his ability to knock down shots makes it so easy for this team. They're the best defensive team in the country again. That's no surprise at all. But it's not just him. It's look at what Igor Milicic has done. Look at Felix Okpara, bringing a 6'10" and 6'11" guy, and they're both hitting, and that's the thing, right? Like, that's what you got to have. They've got a point guard in Zakai Ziegler who's experienced as anybody out there. And once again, it's just a complete package. They kind of have it all. And the thing is, we've always said that it feels like in some of those years for Tennessee, when they struggled, they were missing just sort of that offensive rhythm. They would get inconsistent. They'd go 6 or 7 minutes without scoring. I don't think it's going to happen a lot this season. It didn't happen a lot last season because they had Dalton Connect. They have Chaz Lanier this year, and so that's why Tennessee's been as good as they've been.
You look at the Auburn Tigers, and the same way. I mean, if Alabama goes, Mark Sears is going to go. He's going to get them there. But Jonai Broome is that one for Auburn. If he goes, Auburn's going to go. And they had a scary moment a couple weeks ago when the shoulder pops out. It pops back in. He doesn't miss much time, if any. He's back out on the court, and he looked good again on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like, the numbers don't lie. I mean, this Auburn team is historically good when you just break down all the numbers on what they've accomplished to this point. And, yes, the schedule will start to get tougher, and, they'll start to play some games where, quite honestly, they'll be challenged more than they have been this season, outside of, maybe a couple of those games against Houston and Iowa State and such. But I just, I look at this team, and, of course, Duke in that game, the one they lost. But I look at this team, and I just think, if I'm projecting ahead, how many SEC teams am I confident that really have the lineup and the rotation to beat them? And there's just not many at all. And I think a lot of people have said, look, the winner of the SEC is going to lose at least 5 or 6 games maybe. I'm like, I'm not so sure about that, because I think Auburn is so good right now that, again, barring an injury, I think they're going to probably win more than that and not lose 5 games or more. I'm not sure it's going to happen based on what we've seen at this point. And again, I didn't even think they were probably as smooth as they've been this season on Saturday, and yet they were still in complete control of that game against Missouri. And Broome is the best player in the country. Every single number tells us that. And as long as that continues to be the case, I mean, look at what the guards are doing, stepping up. Look at what the front court's done to step up around him. And that's the thing is, it's not just him anymore. And Auburn, again, another team that just feels like they have the complete package. And I mean, their offense is historically good. All their metrics are historically good. And, like I said, they've got a bit of a tricky game tomorrow at Texas. But, beyond that, I mean, I think this team is set up for a lot of success, and they are, without question, in my opinion, the favorite to win the SEC at this point.
Well, the Southeastern 16, that's where you find all your best SEC basketball coverage. We really appreciate it, Blake, and just let everybody know what you guys got coming up.
Yeah, appreciate it as always, guys. Yeah, you can find us at Southeastern 16 on YouTube. Yeah, I think I put the number out last night. I think we had streamed 7+ hours of SEC basketball from Friday to Saturday. So,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun talking about it. We'll do it again this week, previewing all these games. And, yeah, you can find us on YouTube, Southeastern 16.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Blake.
Thanks, guys.
All right, wrap up hour 1 next. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Cataract Governors in Montesano, that one's got east and westbound blockage. No word on when that stretch of roadway will be reopened. Got power lines down there. Cataract 20 and Newcomb in Decatur that may still be working. Everything else looks like it's clear now. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Neck in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
It's time to get ready for game day. That means Alabama football and tailgating. Whether you're tailgating at home or at Bryant-Denny, visit Brooks & Collier for North Alabama's largest selection of premium grills and smokers like Big Green Egg, Blaze, Delta Heat, Memphis, and Traeger. Satisfy any palate with our wall of rubs and seasonings. For all your tailgating needs, visit Brooks & Collier at 813 Meridian Street or at brooksandcollier.com. An Alabama tradition for over 75 years. Roll Tide.
Tom Abraham here for my friend Mike Owen at Owen Home Appliance Center. Are those new school clothes wearing out that old washer and dryer? Well, it's time to get off the bus at Owen Home Appliance Center and learn what a new Speed Queen washer can do for you. They're in stock and are ready for delivery now. At Owen Home Appliance Center, quality products, quality pricing, quality service. It's right there in the name, Owen Home Appliance Center. 2 locations to serve you, Highway 36 in Somerville and the interactive location at Highway 231 in Lacey Springs, just 8 miles south of the river.
This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. It's the place. Here we go. It's tricky to rock around. To rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky.
Yes, our time is tripping. Tricky. Tripping. Tricky. Whatever.
Yeah.
Because we're up against that hour 1 break.
Right.
256-576-4977. You can join us this morning if you would like, and we talked a lot about a lot of college basketball there in hour number 1. Now, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk some Alabama football with Chase Goodbread, because there's a lot of news and happenings, news and notes happening over the weekend, transfer portal additions, transfer portal subtractions, all that kind of stuff. So we'll fill you in on everything there. We also have to get through what Urban Meyer had to say about the SEC in the Triple Option podcast. I don't know if you've heard that or not.
No, I have not.
But Urban Meyer took a shot at the SEC for the last 2 years, and we'll hear what he had to say because he tied it into the college football playoffs, which, by the way, will resume.
Well, I'm sure he did.
This week.
He forgot to mention that Saban ran his ass out of the league, though.
And that has been a lot of the topic of conversation is the fact that a lot of the national media, and by the way, Heather Dinich on Friday said that, and I did, because I filled in I was the third option to fill in for the drive on Friday.
Gotcha.
Because Wes did a half hour.
Yeah.
You had
I had basketball.
You had basketball.
I tried to do it between 5 and 5:30, but I didn't realize Wes was calling in, so I couldn't come into the studio. I only had an option to do it on the phone. So
And so Steve's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And I'm standing right there, and I said, well, I'm right here. And, I mean, I can do it. And
then it turned out that I had to basically do the freshman JV and varsity game. So it was just it was hectic on Friday. I was constantly communicating with Steve. We just couldn't work it out. And so, but again, I'm glad you were able to.
Well, I owed Steve one.
Yeah.
I owed Steve because he had to wake up at the crack of dawn on Friday,
right,
and handle our show on Friday morning,
right.
But Heather Dinich basically saying that that the SEC pretty much is dead. She said,
we'll see.
Yeah.
What do you think? Well, if she says it, then you know the exact opposite's going to happen because her football IQ's that of a brick. But, I mean, that's just me. But, again, it has been a disappointing postseason for the SEC, okay? I'll admit that. You can't, turn it. You can try to, spin it, but you can't. I mean, injuries are part of it. I do think that Georgia with Carson Beck beats Notre Dame, but they didn't have him. It's just like I think Alabama – beats Georgia in 2021 when we were freezing our butts off outside in Indianapolis. If they have, if they have John Mechie and then J-Mo doesn't get hurt during the game, I think Alabama's the best team. They had drilled Georgia in a month before in the SEC championship game, but they weren't healthy. That's just bottom line. So. And Texas is the last team standing.
And Nicole Auerbach kind of piling on as well.
What does she ever do except
she says it's clear that the gap is closed significantly. She says the SEC still may be the best conference in the country from top to bottom.
It is.
But its top is not head and shoulders above everyone else as it was for a very long time.
And she picked Notre Dame to win the national championship. We'll see if she's right. Hopefully she's not, because that would be disgusting.
All right, so let's get a break in because when we come back, Nicole Auerbach did specifically mention Alabama in her article, and then Urban Meyer had some things to say about the conference as a whole. We'll switch the attention to the college football playoffs and everything else, plus your phone calls coming up next. Hour 2, Talking Ball, around the corner.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. For a limited time, G-Bank is offering a $250 bonus when you open a G-Bank Visa signature card. Apply today at vsin.com/Gbank.
The college football playoff semifinal field is set after Notre Dame beat Georgia 23-10 last night at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. Riley Leonard passed for a touchdown while Jaden Harrison returned to kick off 98 yards for a score. The game was delayed today after a deadly terror attack in the French Quarter in the early morning hours of Wednesday. Notre Dame advances to face Penn State at the Orange Bowl on Thursday, January the 9th. The Irish favored by 1.5. Penn State plus 105 on the money line, over under 46.5. And the other semifinal game, Texas battles Ohio State on Friday the 10th in the Cotton Bowl Classic. The Buckeyes favored by 6. Texas plus 190, over under 53.5. Ohio State the current betting favorite at plus 110 to win the national title.
For more, go to vsin.com.
Mike Sennett, 97.7.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This hour brought to you by SportsMed Orthopedic and Spine Center. Online at sportsmedalabama.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
It is indeed hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, and big thank you, SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center. They're dedicated to providing care that improves lives. Give them a call, 256-881-5151. You can experience that SportsMed difference. Anyway, we were kind of glossing over this Nicole Auerbach article about the SEC, being overrated, et cetera, et cetera.
She's a pile on. She's a Big Ten honk.
Here's what she says about Alabama and everybody else. She says, but there's more Alabama, she says in the article, and I quote, a team that the SEC media machine believed should have made the playoff over SMU.
They should have.
Lost in the ReliaQuest Bowl to a Michigan team whose best players have all opted out.
They beat Ohio State.
She goes on to say, and I quote, South Carolina also considered a CFB snub.
They were better than SMU.
Got beat by Illinois in the Citrus Bowl.
Because they didn't care.
The Big Ten is 4-1 versus the SEC so far this postseason, a record that doesn't even include Michigan's win over Alabama in the CFP semis a season ago.
And who's the favorite for the national championship right now, Scott?
And she says, if it just means more when the SEC is winning, then it also means something when the league is losing, end quote.
And I mean, it's been a while. I mean, they won the national championship for the first time since the Cows came home since 2014 last year with Michigan. Congratulations. It'll probably be another 25 years before Michigan ever wins it again, Dan. Sorry. But, I'll just say, and the Big Ten should win it this year. I think Ohio State's the best team. I've said that. I'm not going to sit there and deny it. I'm not going to. I was hoping Georgia and Texas would play in the national championship game just to shut people like Nicole Auerbach up, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
Because Georgia got a quarterback injury. They lost. I don't like the matchup with Texas and Ohio State. I think Ohio State's playing the best football, and I think Ohio State should win it. As a matter of fact, I think it should be an all Big Ten final because I like Penn State over Notre Dame.
That Texas-Ohio State game, by the way, is Friday.
Yeah.
If you are keeping track,
yeah,
Friday at 6:30.
And then that's going to be the Cotton Bowl, and then of course the Orange Bowl is Thursday.
Yes, Penn State, Notre Dame, 6:30.
Penn State and Notre Dame. So they're going to be 24 hours apart or so, but that's going to be your 2 semifinals, Thursday and Friday, and then your national championship will be the next Monday on the 20th. And again, I think it could be an all Big Ten final. Now, Ward Manuel and the honks on the committee, they wouldn't have set up the bracket maybe for the Big Ten to potentially be an all Big Ten final with the way they seeded everything, would they? I don't know. And the way they set the system up. Oh, maybe not.
Conspiracy.
She can talk about the SEC media machine all she wants, but she can shut her mouth too because I'm sorry, but the committee that did a pathetic job basically set it up on a Big Ten. They set them up on a T, okay? And so this seeding process is going to change, and then we'll see when the SEC makes adjustments, who's ruling the world. And the SEC still has ruled college football for the past 20 years. You can dance all over the SEC's grave because these last 2 years, that's all well and good. But the SEC is going to be fine. They're going to return, and they're going to shut you people up, and you'll have to talk about something else if you're not fired from your jobs for being bad at them.
All right, we're going to hear from Urban Meyer on what he had to say about the SEC.
Another failure in the SEC.
But let's get a phone call in first. Let's get Ryan in before we hear from Urban. Good morning, Ryan.
Morning, Ryan.
Hey, good morning. Hey, good morning, guys. Keep it short. So I can only laugh when I hear a lot of this about what, those other names from ESPN are saying. So basically, tell me if I'm wrong.
By the way, just to clarify,
like
Heather Dinich, I want to make sure that I get this right. Heather Dinich is, and Nicole Auerbach is from NBC. She is writing, she is writing for NBC. And
Which is a pathetic network.
I just wanted to make sure that,
Full of liberals.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Got it. Yeah, no problem. So basically, before NIL and transfer portal, good players came to the SEC because that's where historically success is. People go there for the culture, the program. But now that bribery is legalized with NIL and you have this toxic transfer portal, the only reason these other conferences and teams are winning is because of legalized bribery and transfer portal. It's as simple as that, and that should make them feel pretty pathetic that they can't win without NIL and transfer portal. It's simple as that.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Well, Ryan, here's their excuse. I've read some on social media. It's that the SEC has been doing it for years under the table. Now
Illegally,
it's just
yes, illegally doing it for years, and now it's legal across the country.
For that.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, everybody's been doing it. Everybody knows it. The bottom line is the Big Ten's flexing a little bit because they won last year, and they deserved it. Michigan was the best team, and they look like they're going to win it this year with Ohio State, who didn't even win the Big Ten. But, of course, as we said, there's no conference champions left anyway.
No.
So, I mean, the Big Ten's flexing a little bit. Let them flex. But,
and to that
we'll
point,
see what happens.
Alabama, Georgia, they both have won it without winning the SEC championship.
But it is basketball season now. When's the last time the Big Ten won it in basketball?
Michigan State, 2000?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michigan State in 2000.
Then. Okay.
So if they're making accusations that, we've been quote unquote doing it under the table, where's the money going to the third cousin or the fourth cousin? Is it in cryptocurrency? That's just they're just saying that to distract from the proof right now that NIL is legalized bribery, but they're going to say, well, you've been doing it for years. If that's the case, where's the proof instead of just distracting with words, right?
Well, I'll just say this. I don't think, and you look at the SEC, and let's start from the beginning. Let's start with the Florida teams and then Nick Saban's LSU team, because that's where it all started. That's where the dominance started. And then Alabama came in, and then LSU has splattered in a couple national titles in there along the way, and Georgia's had a couple of them. But I don't think any of the SEC's teams, if they want to say the SEC did it illegally, Drew, I don't think they topped at $20 million.
Well, look, man.
And that is what Ohio State is paying for this year's team, is $20 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, where they're trying to justify. When somebody will say, well, Ohio State's the best team money can buy, then they'll fire back, well, the SEC's been doing it for years. I mean, and again, Ohio State, they've had an up-and-down season, but they're playing their best football at the best time.
And thanks for the phone call, Ryan, by the way, as well.
And then again, I think they are the best team. I've watched the playoff games. That's the best team that I've seen.
Yeah.
And again, they have an extremely high payroll. It doesn't mean you're going to win, but it looks like they've gotten hot at the right time. And, hey, congratulations if they do win the national championship. It'll be their first since 2014. It'll be, and then they also won one in 2002. But you look at it historically, the SEC is still the dominant league. They've dominated, over the last 30 years. That's why they've risen to the heights that they have. And it's a documented fact. I know you're going to talk about what Urban Meyer said, but Urban, he did win 2 national championships at Florida. And guess what? That's what basically built his career.
Yes.
The SEC made Urban Meyer. I'm sorry. But then he couldn't sustain it. Of course, he couldn't sustain it at Ohio State either. Urban was always a guy that could win and win at the highest level, but he could never continue to feed the beast because he was too reckless within his programs.
All right, here is what Urban Meyer had to say on the Triple Option podcast in regards to the SEC.
the SEC yet. They're just 1 year in. So, of course, you can. But, man, I was watching those games, and I was at the Ohio State-Tennessee game. I watched very closely, like we all did, Georgia. It really wasn't close, the Georgia game. You know, Notre Dame, if you take out the previous 15 years of domination by the SEC, Georgia, Notre Dame had better athletes. They were a much better football team. Ohio State, Tennessee, Ohio State had much better athletes than the University of Tennessee. Illinois, South Carolina. Illinois had better athletes than South Carolina. What in the hell is going on? I mean, something there's, but then, you know, we'll get to the recruiting rankings and transfer portal rankings. And I'm anxious to see the NFL draft this year because normally speaking, Rob, NFL draft, I would always tell our staff, that's other than championships are number one. NFL draft is the indicator of how you're doing in recruiting. And you can change the helmets on these teams and say those are all SEC teams like it used to be. But the question is, the SEC dominance over? It is. It's over. Now, next year's another year. Next year's another year. But for 2 years, it's over.
Yeah. And
the Wolverines, it wasn't even close.
Taking care of Alabama down in Tampa. Texas A&M lost to USC. Again, these are bowl games, not playoff games. But remember, Coach, the build-up to that final college football playoff field announcement, it was all the talk, like, is Ole Miss or Alabama?
Not dislike, I hate the Peckerhead. He's trash. He's a trash human being from a trash family. It's a fact.
That was Urban Meyer on the Triple Option podcast in regards to the SEC. Yeah, I mean, did Notre Dame have better athletes than Georgia?
Than Georgia once the quarterback situation worked itself out. Now, Herb leaves that off. Like it's just like if Riley Leonard had gotten hurt for Notre Dame, what would they look like? Notre Dame still lost to Northern Iowa, Herb.
Illinois. Come on now. My Panthers are good, but we're not that good.
Exactly. They lost to Northern Illinois. Right. So, I mean, I'll just say, and I think they should lose to Penn State. Now, James Franklin may puke all over himself, but, I mean, this has been a golden opportunity for James Franklin with the draw that he got.
Right. No, you're right.
SMU that had no business being in it. Then he had Boise, who had no business being a 3 seed. And he beat them, and now he's got Notre Dame, who's a really good football team, but I think he's got the roster to beat them. And he's already played Ohio State tough, lost at home. So, but James Franklin, this could not have been drawn out any better for him with all his struggles in big games with the Nittany Lions.
Did this answer a lot of those struggles though for James Franklin? I mean, did he put checks in the boxes saying I can do this?
But he's got a chance to check another one and rid us all of Notre Dame, who we all hate, except for Notre Dame folk.
All right. By the way, that Penn State Notre Dame game, they're if you go back in the history of college football, those two are intertwined in the fabric very well. They're 9-9-1 against each other all time. They played a home and home in 06 and 07. Both won, by the way, by the home team. So the visiting team never got a win there. They played 12 consecutive years from 81 to 92. Penn State won in South Bend in 82 on its way to a national championship. Notre Dame won in 88 on their way to their most recent national championship.
When there was no DVDs.
Yes, we've decided that. Yeah. The Nittany Lions upset the number 1 Irish in South Bend in 1990, by the way. So they are intertwined in the fabric of college football very deeply, are the Irish and the Nittany Lions. But, I mean, either way we look at it, one of these 4 college football coaches are going to win a national championship for the first time as a head coach. Marcus Freeman, James Franklin, Steve Sarkisian, or Ryan Day. One of those 4 are going to win a national championship for the very first time.
And what I've been saying is the big game record has been well documented for James Franklin.
Yes.
He didn't fall on his face against SMU. They were impressive. He got it done against Boise. it was a tough game, but I knew they were better than Boise. And now it's going to be, I think Notre Dame's a very slight 2-point favorite, in the Orange Bowl. But I think Penn State's got a good shot at winning this game. We'll see. I mean, certainly I think Marcus Freeman's done a remarkable job at Notre Dame. I'm not a Notre Dame guy, but I'm also not going to lie to you. Freeman has done a great job since he took over for Brian Kelly, who got them to one national championship game that was a scrimmage, and then another one where he got throttled in the playoff again by Alabama. But Notre Dame, he's done a really nice job. They had that hiccup, the 16-14 loss, whatever it was, to Northern Illinois, who ended up being a middle of the pack team, didn't even win the MAC. But again, it was a tough loss after they had beaten Texas A&M on the road. But it's not an explosive Notre Dame team. It's not a team that when you watch them, you're blown away by them. But I think they are really good on defense. They're really good in the kicking game. They're old school.
Right.
And then, and I think Riley Leonard does a great job running the football, managing their offense. They don't have an explosive passing attack. And that, I think, Penn State's a little more explosive than Notre Dame. So it's going to depend on how good Penn State plays defense and if they can win the turnover battle. But, I mean, hey, and everybody knows I can't stand the Big Ten. But I just think when you look at the bracket and the way it was drawn up and the way with Georgia's injury situation and then with Texas and the way they played, they were very lucky to escape Arizona State and Scatterboo. I think Texas is good. Now, I will say this. If Texas is on the other side of the bracket, then I think it's going to be I think Texas would have taken out Penn State or Notre Dame. I think Texas would have won that game, and you would have Ohio State, Texas. I think that's the national championship game. I think it's the national championship game you're going to see, played on Friday. But we'll see how it all plays out. But I don't like the matchup for Sark and Texas against Ohio State. Now, but if Texas beats Ohio State, you better look out because they may have a great chance to win a national championship. But I just think Ohio State, when you look at their dudes offensively and their skilled people, and then the way their defense is playing under Knowles right now, I just think the Buckeyes are the best team.
And you look at the way Chip Kelly has designed the offense in the playoffs.
Will Howard's playing with a lot of confidence.
Yes. Chip Kelly is emptying the tank, so to speak. I mean, he is being the creative Chip Kelly that we have seen for years. Chip Kelly's got a great offensive mind. Great offensive mind. And it's been kind of missing. The creativity's been kind of missing. But he's been putting those Ohio State players, the receivers especially, getting them into certain coverages, certain formations. Been doing a good job of getting Ohio State rolling. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, let's talk Alabama football, addition by subtraction, subtraction by addition, who might be coming in, who's leaving, who's transfer portal-wise. A lot has happened since Friday. I know it's only been 72 hours, but a lot has happened, and we'll fill you in some more.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Still got problems at Governor's in Montesano. Got utility lines close to the ground there. They had that road closed completely. Got 431 and Doug Hill working. Got Parkway northbound at Eustis also that may still be trying to move. Just got one at 6th Avenue in the Beltline in Decatur. Sounds like it's going to a parking lot. And we got one at Upper River Road and Point Mallard Parkway that still may be causing problems. New year, new projects. And the old ones still have to be finished. Snelling can help with admin, business support, and accounting needs. Snelling, how the area's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, proudly saying Roll Tide and War Eagle. Stop into University Kia today and shop one of the area's largest selection of new Kias, including Fortes, Seltos, Telluride, and Popular Carnival, and fully electric EV6. View all the great specials at universitykia.com and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia you really want, because we want to see you in a University Kia.
Orthopedics. You're thinking bones, muscles, and joints, right? Well, what else comes to mind? Maybe your spine, therapy, or an arm cast? What about sports medicine? What do you think about when you hear that? Are you thinking about the largest orthopedic group in the state, caring for the most student athletes in North Alabama? Or about the fact that they are teamed up with the state's largest hospital-based sports medicine program to provide care to more schools in North Alabama than any other group? If you are, you have TOC Sports and Huntsville Hospital Sports Center on the brain. If you're not, you should, because Huntsville Hospital Sports Center and TOC Sports have partnered for more than 2 decades to establish a state-of-the-art team of certified athletic trainers and orthopedic specialists who successfully continue to meet and exceed the sports medicine needs of schools, athletes, coaches, and parents in our community. Committing to kids, committing to community, committing to care. That's Huntsville Hospital Sports Center and TOC Sports.
It all comes back to money.
Visit our store right now at zonedeals.bigdealsmedia.net to take advantage of all the best deals in the Tennessee Valley. Or just go to our website, 977ESPN.com, and click on the Zone Deals logo to start saving right now.
Now, as to the price.
These deals won't last long, so get yours now. Zone Deals. You'll thank us later.
A man who could easily afford to buy a vowel.
There's the phone and no one to answer.
256-576-4977.
And as a result, we got many, many phone calls and letters.
Give us a call on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline today. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Welcome back into the show on a Monday morning as we find ourselves here at Bill Penny Toyota, sitting out in the service department. 256-576-4977. If you want to join the program, feel free to do so. You can do so here for the next couple minutes or so. Chase Goodbread will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll fill you in on Alabama football news and notes with Chase Goodbread. And boy, oh boy, I tell you what, and I don't know if it's happening. I don't even know what's going on. It is Black Monday, but boy, on Friday we were sitting there in, where was I at? In Memphis on Friday, and getting all these messages. Oh my gosh, Ryan Grubb is coming to Alabama. Ryan Grubb is coming to Alabama. And I was like, why are they talking about that? Well, Ryan Grubb is expected to be dismissed as the Seahawks offensive coordinator at some point today.
So has
maybe
that been confirmed? Or
no,
is that
it's
still
not. It's still out there, according to NFL pundits.
Well, I've been asked 6,542 times.
That's what I'm
over the last 48 hours, and all I keep telling people is he's still got a job. Wait to see if he's dismissed. Would it surprise me? No, but I don't think it's a lock either, because remember the Joe Brady deal,
right?
When he left LSU to go back to the NFL, he's never come back. He got, I believe he's the OC now with the Bills. And he just never, I don't think he wanted to come back to the college game.
Right.
Does Grubb, he may have another opportunity in the NFL.
If he is ultimately let go.
Once you get in that, in the network. Now, could he come back to Alabama? He was at Alabama for a very brief time last year, yes. But again, I guess it's also where I'm not totally, down on Nick Sheridan that it was all his fault. Now, would I support Ryan Grubb coming to Alabama? Without question, because he and DeBoer have a great chemistry. What would happen with Sheridan? Maybe he goes somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe they do a co-OC thing. I have no idea. I just know that, again, until it happens, we'll see. I don't think it's a lock that it happens, but because I thought Sheridan did a good job, especially when you consider that they had a quarterback that, was a tremendous athlete, but that was limited from the neck up in the way he could process and execute the offense the way they want it to look. And so all I know is I watched every game this year. Guys were running wide open all year long. Milroe had trouble, getting it to the open guys, making the right reads all the time. He was a hot and cold guy, could be electric at times, and then he would be a turnover machine. So I don't think that's all in the coaches. The only thing that I can say on Alabama's coaching staff definitively is I don't know why in the Oklahoma game and then in the bowl game why they didn't give Ty a shot as a backup to come in and spark the team. I never thought Milroe was going to be benched as the starter, But again, that's my biggest question about that going in. But now Milroe has gone to the NFL, and Alabama can move, and this coaching staff can move forward.
All right, let's fire off some phone calls here real fast. Jeff from the Borough is with us. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning.
How's it going, guys? I just want to say, I don't know if y'all read Woken's column, but it's pretty good. The headline says arrogant SEC doesn't rule college football, but I don't want to get into all that. But I did want to ask Drew and Scott, you guys love Rick Barnes so much, so let's do this. Let's have Barnes at Alabama and Oates at Tennessee. You want that even trade?
I'm not trading Nate Oates for anyone, including Mark Pope.
I'm just saying, you want that even trade, I'm telling you. Because Coach Oates has done a good job at Alabama. Do you want that even trade since Barnes is so good? Do you want Barnes at Alabama? Would you? Would you do that?
I just told you, Jeff. Do you have wax in your ears? I said I would not trade Nate Oates for Rick Barnes, and I think Rick Barnes has done a hell of a job in his career.
So I think what Jeff is trying to indicate is, if Rick Barnes was at Alabama, would you be feeling the same way about Rick Barnes as you do with him at Tennessee?
There's no doubt he would win at Alabama. At one time, when Alabama had some coaching changes, when they went through the abyss, when after Mark Gottfried's fell off the planet. Right. I mean, I would have supported Rick Barnes coming to Alabama, but he was mentioned, but it was just never. And again, he was entrenched at Texas at that time. He was on a great run. He had the Kevin Durant's of the world. He went to the Final Four with T.J. Ford, but that timing just never happened. But again, I think Rick Barnes is a hell of a coach.
But do you know why Texas got rid of him? Because they got tired of. They lost 3 or 4 times in the first round, and 3 times they got tired of being put out in the first 2 rounds. That's why they fired him. They got tired of it.
Well, where are they now, Jeff?
Well, I don't know where they're at. I don't care where they're at. I mean, I'm not a Texas basketball fan, so I could care less.
I know. I'm just saying they haven't been nearly as consistent nor as good.
I mean, what's that now?
I said Texas basketball has not been nearly as consistent nor as good since they fired Rick Barnes.
They've never been any good. They never have been that good. And also, as far as college basketball goes,
he went to like 16 tournaments in 17 years at Texas, though.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. Ain't no doubt about that. There's no claim he did that, but they got tired of him losing the first 2. That's why they got rid of him. I'm just telling you what the fan base that wanted. I'm just,
Well, I mean, Kentucky got rid of Calipari because they got tired of not going to the Final Four. They had been since 2015. They ran him off, Jeff.
He didn't fire. He wasn't fired.
They ran him off.
From Minnesota. Nobody
ran him off.
No, he didn't. No.
Yes, they did, Jeff. They ran him off.
I think that was a mutual separation. I think it was. It was mutual.
John knew that
it was mutual.
It was a mutual parting. They ran him off.
Somebody else can win it. That's the last one. So if anybody else can, they don't lose the semifinals. HTBT. So y'all play for a championship. Keep y'all play for one instead of losing Alabama and Auburn in the semis. The UConn.
Well, Alabama went to the Final Four while Kentucky was sitting on their ass.
They didn't play for it. They lost
to UConn. That's all right.
Have a good day.
That's all right. Kentucky's got a good basketball team, Jeff. But you're probably not going to go to the Final Four this year because you'll probably choke again. Goodbye. Hang up on this clown.
Oh, he hung up.
Of course he did, because he
tried to play cowboy, and he tried to play cowboy there and ride out.
He'll lose every time because he's going to get bucked.
Oh, look at you! Love the play on words. Let's go to Jeff. Let's go to Pat from Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Pat.
What's up, Pat?
Hey, man. Hey, wow.
It's hard to follow.
What a nutcase! What a nutcase! Hey, I wanted to talk about. It appears to me that Ryan Grubb was probably the majority of Kalen DeBoer's offense, and not having that piece has been a major detriment. Of course, I believe it was Milroe was our biggest issue.
Exactly.
Just like what you
just
said,
answered the question.
Not being able to see the field is there were so many players open in the Michigan game that he just did not see. And I'm just thank God and Greyhound is gone.
Everybody's happy about that. I think they're ready to move on. He had a good run. He got a chance to make a lot of money. He won a lot of games, and he won an SEC title. He went to the playoff. But, again, it was time to move on. Good luck to him in the NFL and his process. It's a good draft for him because the quarterback position is very weak. I still think – I will say this for Quinn Ewers. We've been talking about the playoff a little bit. And we'll ask Chase Goodbray this. If Quinn Ewers beats Ohio State and then lights it up and wins the national championship, dude might go number 1 overall, because we all know the most treasured position in the National Football League is the quarterback position.
Or another school in the country might try offering him $12 million to come play for 1 year.
If he wins the national championship, dog, he ain't coming back to college.
Yeah. Hey, y'all have a blessed afternoon. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in on Grubb.
Yes,
do you feel this is a done deal with Grubb to Alabama?
No, sir. That's what I said.
Because
earlier.
right now Grubb is not available.
Yeah,
I mean, he technically, as of right now, is still employed by the Seattle Seahawks. So
yeah, we'll see if they. And today's Black Monday, so we'll see if he's let go. But I mean, I don't think it's a lock. And again, I don't think it was all on Sheridan. I think the majority of the issues were by an uncoachable kid that was behind center for 2 years that didn't improve enough. And I know he worked at it, but I don't think he was I don't think he had, and I think he did try to put in the time. But again, when you watched him play, did you see, a lot of improvement? I don't think you did in 2 years. There were still a lot of the same issues. He threw his offensive coordinator 2 years ago, Bill O'Brien, under the bus for saying he wasn't very good. I think Bill was right that he probably would have had a better chance of maybe. And we'll see. I mean, he's going to get drafted. Some organization's going to make the mistake, in my opinion, of taking him.
Some say he's the 3rd or 4th quarterback
he's
in the
top
draft.
5 because this is a really weak class. But, Bill wanted him to switch positions, and he didn't like that very much. And then some of the same issues, with Tommy Rees and Nick Sheridan kind of, it raised their ugly head.
Right.
I just think Milroe both can be true. He's the best athlete I've ever seen play quarterback at Alabama, but probably the worst quarterback from the neck up, just because he didn't throw with accuracy or anticipation or touch. He didn't read very well, had no pocket presence, and then he wouldn't use what the good Lord gave him, which was unbelievable speed and athleticism willingly. It was just tough to watch at times.
All right, we got to get a break in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat. We got to get a break in because when we come back, Chase Goodbread will help us out. Yes, there's been a lot of names that have gone into the portal for Alabama, just like any other place, but there's been a lot of names in the portal. Is there some that stand out more than others? But it's the returning names on defense that should give Alabama fans a lot of hope. We'll fill you in next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. Isolated rain showers and potentially snow flurries going to be possible before heading into the afternoon. High temperatures only expected to reach the mid-30s. Heading into Monday night, isolated showers going to be possible there as well. Low temperatures falling into the lower 20s, sitting under a mostly cloudy sky. Wind gusts as high as 30 miles per hour will be a possibility. I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Still got problems at Governors in Montesano. Got utility lines close to the ground there. They had that road closed completely. Got 431 and Doug Hill working. Got Parkway northbound at Eustis also that may still be trying to move. Just got one at 6th Avenue in the Beltline in Decatur. Sounds like it's going to a parking lot. And we got one at Upper River Road and Point Mallard Parkway that still may be causing problems. New year, new projects. And the old ones still have to be finished. Snelling can help with admin, business support, and accounting needs. Snelling, how the area's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Hello, listeners. I want to tell you a little bit about Minuteman Press and what we have to offer our community. We specialize in paper printing and can help from designing your piece to the finished product. We print media guides for many of the athletic departments at high schools and universities around the area. We typically purchase sponsorships from these schools as well to try and help them with their fundraising. Once we have reached our new normal, we also print all types of marketing materials for you to hand out either in person, via mail, or at various trade shows and events. At Minuteman Press, we're not just putting ink on paper, we're building relationships.
Style and grace, allow me to lace these lyrical dishes in your bushes. Who rock grooves and make moves with all the mommies.
Welcome back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, and we've been talking a lot of college football here in the second hour of the show, and rightfully so. The college football playoffs will resume on Thursday and Friday of this week. A lot has been made about the transfer portal as well. A lot of names. If you look at the names of those that have gone in the transfer portal for Alabama, yes, there is a long list of names in the portal. But, Drew, over the weekend, I think, is the Elijah Pritchett in the portal, is that a surprising move for Alabama?
Not if you've watched the team closely, and I know our next guest has.
Yes.
I think he was the weakest link on the offensive line. He struggled at right tackle, played a little bit of left tackle. Don't forget he went in the portal briefly last year when the coaching change was made and then came back. But I just think Wilkin Formby has improved a lot. I think Wilkin's coming, certainly. But it's tough to keep depth, and we're going to talk about that and the prospectus for the early entries for Alabama. And there's a couple other guys kind of hanging out there. We'll see what their decisions are going to be. We're going to talk about that with the Tuscaloosa News columnist, formerly with the NFL Network for many, many years. I've known him for a long time. He still does Talkin Tide with Travis Reier and Crimson Cover, and that's Chase Goodbread. He's been kind enough to join us on the Neighborsville Management Hotline. Chase, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How are y'all?
We're doing well, man. Thank you. You're with Drew and Scott here in Huntsville, and you're quick. I guess we'll ask you first about the Ryan Grubb situation because I know you've been asked about it a lot. What do you make of that? And if he's dismissed from the Seahawks later today, do you see that as a possibility for Kalen DeBoer?
You know, I don't necessarily see it as a possibility. You know, I think back to Nick Saban being asked about this guy or that guy who's been let go, and you know, Saban was always fond of saying, "Look, you got to have a spot to hire him into." Yeah, and you know, we just saw Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan chumming it up at the Falcons game yesterday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So, I mean, if Nick Sheridan had moved on at this point, then yeah, I'd say Ryan Grubb getting let go at Seattle would be a pretty obvious move for DeBoer. But you know, we don't necessarily know that Kalen DeBoer sees Nick Sheridan as a problem, and until there's an opening at that offensive coordinator spot, I'm not going to make any assumptions about Grubb.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and Chase, I mean, obviously the transfer portal is something that everybody is keeping their eye on. You look at the guys going out for Alabama, but you look at the guys that are staying as well. And we talk about Nick Sheridan on the offensive side, but Kane Womack on the defensive side, he's going to have some names and some players on that defensive side of the ball returning.
He's gotten a lot of good news in the last couple of days. There's no doubt about it. You know, Justin Jefferson coming back, Deontay Lawson coming back, LT Overton coming back, and they're not the only ones. So it's been a heck of a stretch for Womack in terms of roster pieces coming back for him next year. I want to say he's probably looking at 8 guys returning as starters, which in this day and age, especially with the portal, is pretty unheard of. So, yeah, it's definitely looking up for Kane Womack. That said, I don't think it should be assumed it's going to be a great defense next year because it was still a defense, I think, that was lacking in a couple of spots, right? I mean, there was not, that bell cow pass rusher that you like to have coming off the edge. There wasn't a 10-sack guy coming from outside linebacker down after down against the pass. So, you know, that's something that this defense needs to find, whether it's through development of veterans, whether it's Quay Russaw, whether it's somebody coming in, in the freshman class, what have you. So, you know, that's an area they need to improve. I think they need to get better across the defensive line, not just on the edge. So, you know, there's some things that, and of course they got to replace Malachi Moore at safety. There are some areas where they've still got to improve that bringing starters back doesn't necessarily fix.
Yeah, that's true, Chase. No doubt about it. We're talking to Chase Goodred, Tuscaloosa News, columnist and who covers the Alabama Crimson Tide on a day-to-day basis. But and then they've still got a couple of decisions out there: Jeremy Bernard and Ja Marion Latham. And quite frankly, I didn't realize until later in the season that Ja had another year. I thought he was done. But he hasn't announced an official decision, and we haven't heard from Bernard. All the indications I've been hearing is that we're done with the of guys they're expected to lose to the draft. But we know with the portal and NIL, negotiating continues.
It does, and I think Bernard's probably the one they're waiting on the most. He had a nice year for Alabama coming in as a transfer from Washington. Toward the second half of the season, it really just boiled down to Williams and Bernard getting targets, at least in the wide receiver room. So he'd be a real key piece, I think, for DeBoer and Sheridan to get back. I believe he's probably going to stay. I don't think he's headed to the NFL. If Alabama were to lose him, I think it would be to the portal. But let's see. Believe as of, the NCAA rule, of course, is that you get 5 days after your bowl game if your bowl game is played after December 28th, which Alabama's was today. Today's 6th. So portal's actually closed now for Bernard, but you got that spring portal that turns around and comes right at you. So, that's one to watch too. I think at this point, Alabama's pretty safe with Bernard.
So now that you mentioned the spring portal, and obviously you lose a bunch of guys in the spring portal, now you probably can go out and add some guys. I mean, is there an area where Kalen DeBoer is going to continue to try to add through the portal?
As I mentioned before, if there's an edge rusher that could really get after the quarterback, I definitely think that's something that the staff could look at. Doesn't necessarily mean they feel like there's that guy in the portal at this point, because, a lot of times there's not. I mean, keep in mind the vast majority of the guys that are in the portal are backups if you're Alabama, right? Most of what you can add in the portal, if you're in Alabama, if you're a Georgia, if you're an Ohio State, most of what's available in the portal is backups. Now, there are exceptions, right? You can go out and spend a lot of money and get a big name here and there, but I'm just talking about in terms of numbers. That's what you're looking at mostly, and also that's what you lose, right? You look at what Alabama's lost in the portal by a large margin. It's almost always mostly 2s and 3s. That's just how it works. Most of these guys are looking for more playing time along with more money. The players feel like playing time and the money kind of go together, and they do. And so, excuse me, if they're not getting the playing time they feel like they want or need or have to have in order to get a better NIL deal, they're going to move on. So keep that in mind as well.
Well, and the draft process as good as anyone. Your thoughts on these are the 3 guys we expected them to lose. I mean, Jalen Milroe decides to pull the trigger. Tyler Booker, he's probably the top guard in the draft, and then Jihad Campbell, he had a great year, over 100 tackles. Even in the bowl game, I know he missed the last quarter and a half, so he had 11 tackles. I think he had 10 of them at halftime. But first start with Milroe. Talk about he had a very up-and-down career, and he had electric moments. He had some bad moments, but it seems to be a weak quarterback draft, Chase.
There's no doubt it's a weak quarterback draft. It's a great draft to come out if you're Jalen Milroe. He, to me, is the wild card for Alabama in terms of the draft coming up in April, because I've talked to a couple scouts that have got a pretty wide range of opinions on what kind of pro prospect he is and where he might go. If you look at some of the early mock drafts, you see him as high as maybe number 3 in the quarterback class. I'm not sure I see that. I don't see that. I mean, I'd be surprised if he was one of the top 3 to go. But what I won't be surprised at is if he gets pushed up in the draft quite a bit for two reasons. One, as you just said, it's a weak quarterback draft. Two, teams overdraft quarterbacks every single year. It's a desperation position for more than half the NFL. If you don't have one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, you're really not in the game. And so everybody's got to have one. And because of that, they're willing to take a guy with a second-round grade in the first round. It happens all the time. So Milrose, that's something that really is in Milrose's corner in terms of his draft position. So we'll see where he ends up going. I think just about anything's possible. I do know this, when he goes to the combine, he's absolutely going to tear it up. I think he's going to be one of the best 10 or 15 athletes there. And assuming he's healthy and his agent green lights him to do a whole bunch of drill work that's going to turn heads, he'll come out of the combine in better shape.
And then Jihad, he really seemed the second half of the season to ascend Chase, and according to the pundits right now, he's a top 20 prospect.
I've been saying since the middle of the season that I thought Campbell would be the first Alabama player off the board, and I'm standing by that, at least for now. He had a phenomenal year. I think he improved his draft grade from second round to first round over the course of the season. Just had a phenomenal year, as you said. He's exactly what NFL clubs are looking for in off-the-ball linebackers. They want guys that can run. They want guys that can get to the sideline and make plays on the perimeter, and they want guys who can cover. He can do all that, and I think at the end of the day, we're going to see either him or Booker be the first Alabama player off the board. And if I had to bet right now, I'd probably roll with Campbell.
Let's talk about that offense, though, going forward. Chase, what kind of quarterback battle do you think we'll have in the spring to replace Jalen Milroe?
That's a great question. I think Simpson obviously is your front runner. He was the 2 all year. The thing about him, of course, he doesn't have a whole lot of game experience. So, even though he's been around and in the program for quite a while now, you still don't quite know what you're going to get from him, especially in a big game with bullets flying, because, of course, the vast majority of his game experience has come in games where Alabama's had the lead well in hand. Second half mop-up minutes really is what it's been for Simpson. But running the offense, taking care of the football is going to be huge. If you're Nick Sheridan, after what we saw this past year, I think you're number one, certainly your number one or your number two measuring stick for all your quarterbacks, whether it's Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, the freshman coming in, Russell, whoever it is. Who's going to get me in and out of games without turning the football over? Because that's what bit Alabama in the loss column this year to a large extent. So, if I'm Ty Simpson and I'm wanting to win this job, that's my main focus right now.
And then finally, just to swing back real quick, I know you mentioned Booker. You've talked to NFL scouts. A lot of times guards aren't as valued in the league. Right. But is Booker a guy that can still go in that round one, maybe in the 18 to 32 type spot?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right on that, Drew. Guards are undervalued. They don't go in the draft as high as tackles. That doesn't mean they don't go in the first round, because they do. They get picked in the first round at a slower clip than tackles for sure. It helps if they can play tackle too, because versatility is huge in the NFL. Usually only 7 offensive linemen on an active roster on any given Sunday. Booker's got a little bit of experience at a tackle position, little game experience, little practice experience as well. I do think he projects as a guard, though, at the NFL. I don't see him developing into a pro tackle. But the fact that he's played a little bit there at least probably ought to help him some. I think he does go in the first round, probably late, like you say, in the 20s or toward the back end.
Well, Chase Goodbread with us here this morning. And Chase, I'm just curious, and we've had a lot of people talk about it and have asked us about it. How would you summarize or how would you sum up Kalen DeBoer's first year with Alabama?
From a fan perspective, I don't think it could be viewed as anything other than a disappointment, because making the 12-team playoff is really what it's all about. And, you know, DeBoer himself was asked about that a couple times during the season, and, you know, he didn't shy away from it. He said, yeah, that's the goal. So, and when you go from a program that's made the 4-team playoff over and over and over again, and you expand it to 12 and you don't make it, it's going to leave a lot of people scratching their heads, no question about it. At the same time, I do think he's a heck of a coach in a couple respects. I think he's a darn good recruiter. I think he's darn good when it comes to X's and O's. I do think he's got to shake things up on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's personnel, whether it's coaching staff, and you know, make sure they come back next year able to do a little bit more of what he wants to do offensively. So in terms of what he can do at Alabama long term, I do not judge him on year one. I want to see what Alabama looks like when he's got the personnel he wants on the offensive side of the ball, because he really didn't in 2024. And I'm not just talking about the quarterback spot. I'm talking about the offensive line too. The offensive line he had to work with physically does not fit the style of football he wants to play. It fit what they ran in 2023 under Tommy Rees. Big, heavy guys playing bully ball. And if you go back and look at Kalen DeBoer's offenses over the years, he wants leaner, faster offensive linemen who can get out and pull more, get out and block in space, stick to linebackers, things like that. And so, you know, I saw that coming too, to be honest with you. I wrote about it a little bit last spring. We'll see if he's able to get kind of the style he wants in there plugged in fast enough to start doing some of what he wants to do.
Well, Chase, good stuff. Let everybody know how to follow you and what you got coming up, man. We always appreciate the time, and thank you for the intel.
Yeah, the X feed is at Chase Goodbread, and as you mentioned at the top, we're on Crimson Cover on WVUA, which does air in Huntsville. That's weekly, airs on Friday nights at 6:30 p.m. year-round. We're getting into basketball now with that, of course, and the Talkin' Tide podcast with Travis Reier, and, of course, the Tuscaloosa News and TuscaloosaNews.com.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chase.
Yep.
All right, let's get that final break in. We'll wrap it all up with your tomorrow's headlines next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Have you ever turned your back on God? Have you ever absolutely known the right thing to do and just turned around and walked away in disobedience? I know that I have. Aren't we thankful for our great and merciful God who loves us and forgives us and remembers our sin no more? I'm so thankful that His mercies are fresh every day. I need that, and I suspect you do too. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, and if you're looking for a church home, come see us. We're smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison, and check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Can't believe it's true. This is totally off topic. And, I mean, it wouldn't be anything for this show to be staying on topic.
Yeah, of course.
But they're making a Rocky 7.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Did you know this?
No, I didn't know it.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of stopped after Rocky 4. I mean, I remember Tommy Gunn and all that. I think that was 5, but I mean, and I think I did see that one, but. I mean,
anyway, that's not tomorrow's headlines. That's just, you've got to be freaking kidding me.
Wow.
Stupidness. By the way, congratulations to the UAH Chargers. Folks, they are the 6th ranked team in Division II.
They're rolling.
They got a road sweep over the weekend. They got a win over Union thanks to Blake Campbell's last-second three-pointer, Onions from Jackson, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then they led from wire to wire there against Christian Brothers. They are undefeated in Gulf South Conference play. They are riding a 12, 13, 14-game win streak. It's very impressive. They welcome Montevallo to Spraggins Hall on Thursday.
Yeah.
So if you don't have plans, you need to come watch the UAH Chargers Thursday. The women split on the road. They're good, folks. They are vastly improved from last year. You need to watch Alan Sharp's women play and then stay for the men's game on Thursday night at Spraggins. It's going to be fun.
It is, but dadgummit, the Orange Bowl's on. I don't know if I want to, but who knows? It's just a Big Ten Notre Dame Invitational, though. Nicole Auerbach will be watching.
Yes, she will.
She won't be returning texts from Steve either because she's yellow.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Well, we've had 2 hours of fun. Just depends who you ask here at Bill Penny Toyota. Thank you. We'll be back at it Tuesday.
Stay warm, everybody.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Stan McDonald. Stan, tell everybody why